Okay, so let's see so far. Any questions so far?
So what were the three things? There was the nominal, and then what's the other one?
And purchasing power parity, PPP. It's either they go with like international organizations, either they go with purchasing power, PPP, or they go with nominal, or exchange rate. Nominal is the same exchange rate, whatever exchange rate is today, they divide by that one. Oh, I forgot to continue actually. So this was basically, we said they go by numbers, of course, GDP, GNP or GNI right now, unemployment, inflation rate, all these numbers they calculate, right? In 1992, Amartya Sen, he is an Indian economist and philosopher, he actually proposed to the United Nations, how about we include HDI, Human Development Index, that has a lot more other factors into it too. We cannot keep going with only numbers, we have to consider the human factor, human aspect of it as well, right? Now, the human aspect, for example, life expectancy, discrimination or equality between men and women, death at birth, education rate, between the gap between boys and girls, primary education. So all of these factors he suggested to be included. In late 1990s, they also came up with another index called HDI based on his proposal. So now we can not only can take into numbers into consideration, but also we take HDI into consideration as well, Human Development Index. We're going to look into all those maps here. Your chapter covers all of that. We're going to come back and talk about Indonesia later. Let's just go for it. Okay, now, how do we calculate? You see it says GNI per capita or GDP per capita, right? Let me go here and show you guys what is per capita. Let's go back here. So you see China, keep that in mind. China, or let me open another window if you don't keep in mind. I will go back and forth to show you guys. Per capita, right? How much, where was China? Number one, GDP, right? What are we calculating? GDP per capita. What number? 108. So what happened? Because when we talk about per capita is that we take the total GDP divided by the population of the country. The more populous the country is, your rating actually goes down because we have to divide it among 1.56 billion people, right? So that's why it goes really down. Same thing applies to India. India actually goes way down. Let's see where India is here. 157. Versus if you look here, India is number 4. Versus 157. It's just because that's why I want to tell you guys these are not a good indicator. You know why? Because the money could be just like we're talking here, 99% versus 1%. The money could be in hands of 1% of people, and 99% of people are really poor, right? In many countries it can't happen, right? They're very poor. But when you divide GDP equally between among the citizens, it shows like the number is very high, for example. So it's not a good indicator at all to see the gap between poor and rich. That one, you have to do Gini coefficient. Did we do Gini coefficient here? Or it didn't come up yet? So it's the next chapter, is that?
So then for the United States.
United States, I'm going to go back to
right?
No.
Because you said
really.
that like 80% is held by the top 20% or something.
United, but it's not going to show here. 19, we're number 19. 59,500. That's very good actually. 59,500. Now, it shows basically each person per year has a minimum of 59,500. Is that true? No. And United States is not as bad. We do have gap, of course, but we don't have gap like Philippines, like sub-Saharan African countries, like India, right? Still, we don't have as bad gap. Believe me, there is more. I'm with you. I know that we have
Just
huge
went
gap
to
here.
East LA and I was like, dang.
You're right. You're right. But you know what we're talking about? The same thing we just said. 1 hour walking distance, they have access to emergency. That's what we're talking about. I do understand your point. The gap is huge.
Skewed.
You go to Mulholland Drive, you see million-dollar homes, billionaires are living there, and you come down just like 15, 30 minutes, go to East or South LA, and you see completely different views, right? But what we're talking about is, keep in mind, like access to running water, basically being able to go to emergency room. So all of these factors we talk about. I'm sorry?
Electricity.
Electricity.
Indoor
Well,
plumbing.
yeah, electricity. If you don't pay, they're gonna cut off
And
your
then
electricity.
that's only calculating citizens, right? Because there's a lot of the population that's also not citizens, where that should be.
No,
going up.
residents. No, not citizens, residents. We're talking about population of the United States, like 320 million. That's what we say. The ones that basically, they filled out the
So
census,
who's
right?
number one?
Now, exactly, that's what I want to go. So all these countries, probably you guys don't know many of these countries, right? It's because they're very small. The smaller you are, the country is, the bigger, when you divide the total per people, like per population, you see bigger number, right? So that's why these are very small countries. Here they call it Liechtenstein, but it's Liechtenstein really. Liechtenstein is number 1, Qatar, Monaco, Macau. Macau is actually an independent, autonomous region of China. Luxembourg, Bermuda, Singapore,
Is that the
Isle of
triangle?
Man, Brunei, I'm sorry?
Is that the triangle, Bermuda?
I don't know. No. Ireland, Norway, Falkland Islands, United Arab Emirates. So you see very, very small countries, all of these. You see that? None of them are big countries. It's just because when you divide to the population, small population, it shows huge numbers. That's what I'm saying. These are not good indicators. But unfortunately, these are some of the indicators that we literally are using to show which country is strong, what country is doing good. That's why the Amartya Sen, the Indian economist, proposed add human development index to it, which includes a lot of other factors, which gives us a better understanding of how the country is doing. Any other country you guys want to see?
Mexico.
Oh, Mexico. 91 per capita. It's actually right next to Iran. 19,900. That's very good. And let's see where it stands here. 12. It's very, very strong. What was it? Sorry. It's number 12 here. It's actually doing pretty good between France and Italy.
What makes China and us, USA, such superpowers, so much money? Like, why are they so ahead of
Well,
everybody?
the United States has started after World War II because we started in a very good, strong position. Because we were not defeated and all that, so we started in a very good position. We opened the markets, capitalism, a lot of government hands off, deregulations, so personal, because when you allow people to compete with each other, we talked about it, they're gonna come up with a lot of innovations, enterprises, entrepreneurship, and competition, right? So, United States started after World War II, and of course, a lot of money the United States had, it could help its small businesses and innovation to grow. Now, and a lot of private sectors. All of these are important. China started because of each country has to have at least one factor endowment, one factor, right? Endowment, factor endowment, you say capital, land, or labor, right? So China has the labor, right? Definitely has the labor, and that's why they keep the currency low, so the labor is worth it to take all the products over there. And also, China started huge country with huge resources. They started opening up the country. So they literally asked anybody to come here, and we'll produce it for you for very cheap and send it out. And let me tell you this, World Trade Organization really